Do you know what Ascension is? And where does Ascension take us? Hello, this is Angelscapes, and I am your host, Nancy Smith. Welcome to this episode where we're going to talk about Ascension. And we're going to talk about the pathway to living an ecstatic life. What are these things? What is ecstatic life? What is Ascension living? And we're going to explore these words that people who are on the new age or people who are spiritually developing. You'll hear these comments and you'll hear these thoughts, and we're going to talk about what they mean and what they could mean for you as you step onto your spiritual path. We have hidden spiritual gifts and potentials that unfold from within when we walk our spiritual path.
Welcome to the Angelscapes podcast, where you're encouraged to uncover and develop a direct connection with your soul's power, wisdom, and spiritual intuition that is ready to blossom. We'll explore new ideas, compelling tips, and real steps to help you learn simple spiritual practices. We're a safe place to learn more about accessing your soul's power with education and spiritual wholeness that could bring more clarity to your life. Now here's your host, a practicing medium, Akashic Records practitioner, spirit artist, coach, and mentor, Dr. Reverend Nancy Smith.
Have you heard about star seeds? We are star seeds. We are human beings having a spiritual experience. No, actually, I have that backwards. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And we've also heard many, many times that humanity was developed other than just on this planet, that there were other beings that intervened to help humanity to develop and grow. And we've heard many times ancient aliens or other Pleiadians teachings or other star beings teachings that talked about we used to have an many strands of DNA running through our physicality. But those strands are now broken down to just two strands. And what does that mean? How does that impact us? And my thoughts on this is when we access our spiritual self, our soul self, we're accessing all of those DNA strands that we're meant to have in our physicality, but we're accessing them through what I call the spiritual DNA. And how do you do that? And what does that mean for you in your life now? And I feel it's about walking that ascension path or that path of enlightenment. So when we're living from a place of actualizing or looking into our soul's gifts and our soul's power, when we're co-creating with that higher level spiritual stuff, we are actually moving our vibration or moving our thoughts or moving our choices into a new realm and into a new thought form. And that's what is ascension. We're ascending into another way of thinking, ascending to another way of being. So we can change our own reality when our thoughts and our choices shift. And I know pretty much everybody has experienced that. When you go from a negative thinking and you go from pessimism into more positivity, you can see more choices or things shift. Even just emotionally, they shift. And that emotional shift, that higher shift, is a vibrational shift. Our thoughts are vibrations. Our bodies are vibration. Everything around us is a vibration. And everything vibrates. Think of water, think of water, steam, and ice. Those are different levels of vibration. So water is kind of where we are now. Ice is when we really slow down, and steam is when we go up to spirit. That's how I like to compare that. And what we're doing is moving from our ice to our flow, which is going to move us to the spirit, and the molecules are the same molecules, but now they're vibrating at a different a different rate. So they have a different form. And that's what I'm talking about when we talk about ascension and living an ascended life. You're in a different form. You're still in your body. You're still got your stuff going on. You're still the same height, you're still the same person, but you're vibrating and reaching out to different sources that you can now see and access because you're at a different place in your thought form and also in how you're walking your life, you're walking your daily life. When we change our own reality with our thoughts and choices, we are also inviting people around us. We don't have to invite them by saying anything, but our vibration and actually invites them to begin to look at their life and change the vibrations of their life, because the law of vibration talks about um, once there's a higher vibration wants to match, wants to, just like water wants to level itself out to the lowest level, vibration wants to level itself up into the highest level. So when we are working on the positivity or integrating, we're going to talk about that in a minute, is the pathway to ascension. When we're learning and growing, integrating our life experience to a higher wisdom, we are now vibrating at a higher rate, and we're inviting the people around us just by vibrating to move that into their higher rate of vibration too. We're bringing, that's how we help each other and move along, whether it's humanity, meaning people, animals, nature, all of that. When we walk when we walk through this world at a higher vibration, our feet touch the ground a little lighter, our attitudes and how we use our resources become a little bit more aligned, or a lot more aligned with the all of the living beings around us. So ascension is living in an aware state, um, and that aware state comes from inner transformation work. And transformation work can include prayers, can include meditation, it can include deep work of on your belief systems, on what you know to be true when you find out, well, really, this is not so true, so that you can open up your life and free yourself to experience a higher side of life. We're not holding on to stuck energy. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Living an ecstatic life is about feeling joy, and you learn to access the depth and breadth of life as the creator designed life to be. We don't access the ecstatic living when we are believing or signed up for choosing misery. As humans, we have the capacity to be violent. We have or pain ridden or tortured, and mean and cruel and all that kind of stuff. And at the very same time, we have the capacity to live a calm, peaceful life that leads to joy and well-being. And we're introduced at birth to all of these possibilities. And as we mature and develop our minds and thoughts on our own, then we can make choices that lead us to the direction that will unfold in our life. So clearly we have choices. This is a free will zone. This is what we're here to experience as spiritual beings, is that free will, those choices, and how do those choices impact ourselves and others. This is really a soul experience. This is an experience that our spirit and our soul want to have. Once a choice is made, it can be changed. It's flexible. We're in an energetic. Energy is flexible. It moves. Emotions are energy in motion. They move. So once you make up your mind about something, oftentimes you feel like, well, this is it. It's written in stone, and it's not. You can have change your mind about something and have a different experience with something. In the energetics of the universe, all things are in flux. Nothing stays the same. But in our minds of materialism, we feel that once everything is built around material and things, the chair is solid, the house is solid, the roads are solid, the rock is solid, but actually it's all made up of energetic pieces, and those energies can shift as well as we can shift. So when you're in a place of, this is it, I've made this choice, I have to stay here, you don't. And that's a belief system. That's a stuck energy that is not leading you to enlightenment. It's not leading you to ascension. So ascension and integration, the key as I see it to ascension is integrating all of your conscious and unconscious parts. The part of your life experience is left to, we're integrating all of our experiences so that nothing's left to haunt us. It's all integrated within us. Um, and we have developed wisdom from it. We have developed a process to approach this energy in a much more enlightened way. Um, all our experiences are brought to our aware self and joined with our higher power. And this is integration. This is love. This is compassion. And this is about leaving no experience behind, leaving no part of ourselves behind. It's not repressing any parts of ourselves. Integration is waking up. Awareness is waking up. And ascension is about walking the life as a woke person, as an aware person. So what exactly is consciousness? That's a really amazing question because I see consciousness as being on many different levels. I see actually 4 levels of consciousness, and probably there's a 5th one. And I see them, I think of a tree. I think of a tree as a way of explaining consciousness. Um, be the tree. Um, First of all, in a tree is the roots. And what holds the tree in place is the roots. And all the life energy flows up from the roots through the trunk and out through the branches where there's a ton of growing within the branches and fruits coming out. Leaves are coming out, flowers are coming out, maybe not in that order. Maybe it's more like flowers, leaves, roots, flowers, leaves, fruit. But the tree is a magnificent example of using elements found in the environment that help us to live. And the tree returns the transformed elements back into the environment, and which will sustain life beyond itself. Using the tree as a metaphor, when we function as we were created, it's kind of like the as above, so below concept. What's in nature is also within us and our thought forms. So energy in life moves up, and it's the roots in our lives, which are our unconscious self. And our unconscious self anchors us into the earth. And our unconscious self has been given the name of ego. Our unconscious self is just like the roots of the tree. They collect all the nurturing, they collect all the nourishment, they collect all the how you live in life, how you anchor yourself up, and they move it up through the trunk of our lives. It moves it up into our awareness. And if we are woke and aware, we can see the nurturing, we can see the beautiful aspects of life, really rich opportunities to learn and grow. And that moves us from our aware self into our higher self, which then flourishes and blossoms. So looking at the tree, the first concept in the metaphor of the tree is a continuous and contiguous flow of energy through the tree. That's the first big lesson in our humanity and spiritualism as we want to integrate it and move into ascension. Think about it. Sunlight bathes the tree, the bark on the trunk and the leaves on the branches support and protect the tree. The trunk uses the warmth of the sun then to modulate the flow of the nutrition throughout the wood of the tree, and the leaves turn the sunlight into food, and the byproduct becomes part of the air that we breathe. So it's integrated in all aspects of life, as we are meant to be integrated into all aspects of life. We're not meant to be isolated within our own little island. The second concept in the metaphor of the tree is the interdependency and cooperation between all of the systems within the tree. Do you ever decide that I don't want to deal with this thing in my life anymore, even though it feels really important? I just don't want to deal with it, put it aside, don't listen to it, and we suppress it. And we are no longer learning from that experience. And as a matter of fact, by suppressing something, we put something into stasis and we stop growing. We have stuck energy. So working all the systems together, let's think about the tree again. The nutrients travel up the tree trunk and are dispersed where they're needed. But where did the nutrients come? They come from the root. They come from the ego. The bark on the trunk of the tree is responsible for monitoring the temperature of the tree, as well as the passage of light, which creates the gases that move the nutrients through the branches. Imagine that. The bark defends the tree against disease. So what part of your life is the bark, is the protected place, the protection place? That's your aware self. The wood of the trunk supports the constant flow of water that supports the entire tree. If this process fails to provide water at any point, the tree will die. And when we forget to nurture ourselves, when we forget to allow the flow of life to happen within ourselves, we will we will we'll die. I mean, we will die spiritually, we could die mentally, we could die emotionally, or we could just languish. Um, the branches carry the leaves that create sugars from the nutrients and water and send them by the sunlight by the sunlight that surrounds them, and that's where the growth happens. That's where the outreach happens. That's where um, uh, that growth with the leaves or the fruit or the flowers feeds the area community around it, but it also um, procreates. It drops the fruit down. More trees are grown from that. And so there is a reciprocity that happens in the community when we are allowing ourselves to grow and learn and share. Um, and again, the greatest of growth in the tree is in the branches. The greatest growth within ourselves is in how we express ourselves and how we learn and how we are in the community together. We need the roots, we need the trunk, we need the aware self to be able to go out into the world. If you're having trouble going out into the world or go back to your roots, go back to your aware self and say, where am I blocking myself, or where am I not really embracing the life that I have? Again, we're talking about ascending, we're talking about moving to a higher vibration, and we need to work as a team within our body, mind, and spirit, and our unconscious self, our conscious self, and our higher self in order to move through to ascension. Um, so much like a tree, we need our entire inner system, including the levels of consciousness, to flow together. So there's no turning off. I don't like that part of myself, so I'm going to ignore it. Or I don't like that memory or that trauma. Let's just not talk about that again. We do need to look at our traumas, and we do need to look at all the things that have impacted us and helped us to have the experience of being human so that we can learn and grow. Stuck energy. We'll talk about this is the suppressed stuff. Stuck energy hinders our growth, but the energy can become unstuck. So many times is that's what I do, that's how I always am, that's the way life is. Not necessarily, but what sticks your energy is trauma or anger, or I'm not going to forgive you, or jealousy or hunger or homelessness. Now there's a hierarchy, Maslow's hierarchy of need, that needs to be addressed. That's at the very root level of our life, where we need we need shelter, we need food, we need love on a certain level. And then once that level is taken care of, then we can really walk into growing into our highest and best. And I think this is points to why it's so important to nurture the poor, help the poor, feed the hungry, and shelter the homeless. Because another way that we could be stuck as a community and humanity is we all grow together, and we're as strong as the weakest link in the chain when it comes to ascension, when it comes to we want to rise up together. Now I have to say that there will be some times where we'll see somebody going into enlightenment or going into some sort of ascension form, and not everyone's going at the same time, but that's another topic. But it is important to help each other meet those hierarchical needs if we want to change our community, if we want to get along, or we want to stop world hunger, world war. We need to help each other. We need to work as a unit. So let's review a little bit. The lower consciousness or the unconsciousness are the roots of our lives. They're in our belly. And their message is, I am what I feel, I am what I know, I am what I believe, and I am what I desire. And they're very rooted into feeling and expressing the aspect of being human, the human condition. I always see sometimes people say, well, you're in your meat suit, you're spirit, but you're in your meat suit. But this meat suit is like very smart. It integrates well into our spirit. It's over millions of years it's developed. so that it can take a spirit, can take a soul, and really work together. So it's almost like a biological intelligence in our bodies. And really, once you're in here having this human experience, no matter how elevated of a spirit or soul that you are, you need to integrate with the humanity. You need to integrate with the physicality in order to, again, integrate those experiences and raise the vibration. Even the most ascended masters, and I think that's sometimes that's why they don't come back. Now, so let me just help you from this other side. That's why the ascended masters may not want to have another life, is because it's so real, because it's so challenging, and because you're dealing with the vibration of being human and hungry and low, and the vibration of being happy and joyful, or you're having your heart broken. You have to manage the energies. If we're ascended, if we're really going into that enlightened pathway, you still have the human experience going on. I don't care who says what about being not expecting anything and being above it all. When we're in a human body, it's very difficult to be above it all. And I feel like we're not designed to be above it all. We're designed to be part of it, to learn and grow. And also those of us that come here to help humanity to grow, and we're all in that same bucket. We're here to develop the biological condition so that it can ascend with the spiritual. We're all, the evolution is a constant thing. So the heart, the spirit, the awareness of self, that's the trunk of our life. That's I am me. That's understanding your own sense of who you are as an individual. It's becoming aware of yourself. The tree's heart is the trunk. The trunk connects to the roots and the branches. The tree's life story can be read in the rings formed inside of the wood of the trunk. Every year, a new ring forms and tells a story of that year. And the same within our heart. Every moment we live, every moment we make a decision, when we feel, it adds more wisdom to ourselves. And it's the connection between as above, so below. It connects the unconscious to the aware self to the higher conscious, and amazing things can happen. Remember, the flow starts down and moves up. It doesn't start at your heart and move up, or it doesn't start somewhere in your head and move up. You have to be grounded and bring all the energy up to have the nutrition, the spiritual nourishing, the physical, mental, emotional nourishing that you need to create an ascended life. Don't get away. You don't get a free pass on this one. You can't get away with, I'm going to skip. I'm listening to myself. I'm going to skip all these ugly feelings that I have, and I'm just going to go into peace and calm. That is not living your life. That is bypassing something that's uncomfortable. And if you really want to ascend, you got to go back to that uncomfortable thing and unstick the energy and allow it to flow up through your awareness and up into spirit, and then back down into your unconscious self, so that everyone's being trained, everyone's being entrained, soul entrainment. The heart and the analytical mind, wanted to talk a little bit about that. The age of reason has reigned for hundreds of years. And the age of reason is the brain that's based on scientific, what we call scientific matter of things, and that science is based on the structure and the causality of the structure, and that's where life comes from. But that's not true anymore. That's really not where science is going. It's energy that starts life. That's where all things come from, that energy, and all things return back to that energy. The reign of reason, which is meant to give credence to the scientific method and logic above all, again, it's a passing trend. It really is. And slowly a new trend is establishing itself towards integrating thought with body, with heart and soul. And so many of the beliefs and understandings of the mind can be tracked back to a root level of that root level of beliefs of I had this pain, so therefore I won't do this, or I had this experience, so this is what life's about. It can go back to some root cause that is limiting, that's it from your unconscious mind, that is now limiting your life. And sometimes the challenge, that's a stuck energy, is to bring that up into your aware self and check in with your soul, check in with spirit, check in with that energy. What is this really meant to do? what did I really learn here? And what can I do with this um, differently than what I'm doing now? The heart is the champion of discovery and creative thinking. And if we bring those limited beliefs, or we bring that stuck energy into our heart will immediately expand it and immediately say, so what are you doing with that? And how's this? And let's check out this. And your heart will, when you're in an aware state, will begin to bring a vibration to the stuck energy that unsticks it. When we are tirelessly curious about something, we are usually being guided by our higher spirit, by our souls, to take a deep dive into something, to really understand what something's about. When we open up ourselves to knowing and learning, we're going to be rewarded down the road. We're going to be rewarded. So the soul and the higher consciousness are represented by the branches and the leaves of the fruit of the tree. It's the I am. So I am me, but then as we move up, I am. There's no more me. There's no more my feelings, my thoughts. It's just I am. I'm existing and I'm experiencing. The level of consciousness can be difficult to discern, the soul level. We connect to this center through intuition and inspiration, not through thought and rationalization. Creative endeavors can open us up to our soul's higher consciousness, like writing or painting or running or doing all kinds of things that bring us to this flow of energy. Will reveal our soul to us. We actually will open us up to source, or what I call the Akashic realm. We can also be driven to this higher awareness by frustration when we find ourselves saying there has got to be something better than this. There's got to be something more. And it's that search that brings us to our soul and into our Akashic records is where we're kind of going with this. So when we access that Akashic realm and we access what the Akashic records are saying, that will help us all to let go of the stuck feel, the stuck or the stayed thoughts, and challenge us and move us to, wait a minute, if this is this and this is this and I'm feeling this way, let's just mix the cake mix up a little bit differently. So as we talk about um ascension and living a state of ecstasy, what we're doing is saying that we're going above what our experience is, and we're taking it to a whole new level, to our spirit. Now, spirit and soul and the source, the Akashic realm of source, have created with great wisdom and with great love structures that we have here in our existence. Like I said before, we can go this way or we could go that way. We have both of those things presented to us since the moment of our birth. And what are you going to choose? And what are you going to be socialized to? And what are you going to decide? I don't want to be socialized to this anymore. Now, when you choose to move up to that soul level, when you ascend your thought process and what you're relating to, or going to your spiritual gas station to get filled and nurtured, things begin to shift within yourself. So you have more of a sense of, instead of, well, God, who is this God? And I don't believe in him because God would never let all these things happen, to, oh, I am responsible for my own life. I am responsible to make a connection with these higher powers. I am responsible to see for how I see things and how I choose things and how I create things from how I see. I'm responsible for all that. And I'm going to do the best that I can with this. And as you move into the best that I can, your best will get a little better, a little better, a little better. And so now you're working at a higher vibration, you are ascending, and your sense of yourself improves. There's more happiness, there's more of a sense of well-being, of joy. And when that happens, there's gifts that show up. Maybe you find out that you're a poet, or you find out that you are very good at negotiating, or you're very good at pulling out people's best and possible selves, or who knows what these gifts are. You won't know till you're on your journey finding them, but they are there. And those gifts will lead you to what I call an ecstatic state of joy, from going, there's no God, and God would never let this happen, to, I am creating with this amazing energy and with this amazing wisdom, and I'm really happy. It feels really good. And when I settle down and really connect into that higher power. And I let myself just take a moment and feel it. I can go into bliss. I can go into happiness. It's a process. It's not a 2-minute process or something you do in a couple of weeks. It's a lifetime process. But that's the ascension that leads to ecstatic living, which includes a sense of well-being, a creativity, a joy, and a deep satisfaction with, yeah, I can do something with this life. And no matter where you are in space and time, you will see life differently than the victim, or the, oh my God, this is happening, this is terrible, this is happening, we can never do anything about it. And your soul will tell you something different than what your experience seems to be telling you at your, your own specific time. So as I talk to you about this, I don't want you to walk away thinking this is just wild and this will never happen. I really want to invite you into knowing that we can all be ascended masters. We can all be ascended beings within our lifetimes. And we ascend to as far as we could possibly ascend in a lifetime, depending on the choices we make and how far we go. And it starts little. Our intuition that connects us to our soul and to our higher thinking, it starts as a little tiny twinkle, a little like, I wonder what that is. And then you become curious about it, and then you move forward, and then you allow that twinkle to start coming into a bigger light, a bigger picture. And you start to trust that intuition, that sense of there's something else besides my thoughts. Our inner, besides my thoughts that are rolling around in my head, our thoughts that are rolling around in our head aren't necessarily our intuition. Our intuition is giving us another perspective. It's usually peaceful, it's calm, but it's kind of giving us like, hey, think about this. And it's a little suggestions that we latch onto, and then we begin to grow. Um, how meditation helps. Prayer and meditation, I feel like, really go together. I don't really think that we can separate those two. Prayer is the question of like, I really need to know more of this. I want to experience life differently. Can you send me $1,000,000 so I can be happy? Or whatever the prayer is. And now the answer back is when you're in a meditative state and you're opening up, you're quieting your mind, you're quieting the ask, and you're opening up to the energy to flow to you and through you and around you, to bring you resources and to bring you awarenesses of what you can do with the help of the universe, in partnership with the universe, to create what it is that you want to create in life. So maybe you'll say, well, maybe asking for $1,000,000 was a little bit much, but I do want the resources to move forward on this great idea I have. So this great idea you have, and you find the resources that are in alignment with where you're vibrating and who you are. And if you want to move those resources and make them a little bit bigger, you got to align to a higher power. You got to align to a different vibration. And that is where meditation comes in, where you're meditating away from the desire and the need and the expectation into the openness of, I can let life flow through me. I can have the experience of finding this resource, or using a resource differently than I ever thought of. So continue to do your meditations and move forward. Another way is the process is inner work, and taking a look at what's not working in your life, or taking a look at what are the emotions, energy, and emotions that are talking to you, that are keeping you, compelling you to go forward in one direction, or they're keeping you from going in a direction that you choose to. Energy and motion, when you get down to is your emotions. And when you get down to what your true emotions are, your root emotions are, now you're in your unconscious self, and you're starting to like look through the garage there, and all the shelves, to find, what did I put aside that I really need at this point? And your emotions will show you where to go. They're not leading you, they're not providing for you, they're not your source of wisdom. They're your messengers that say, over here, pay attention. This grief over here that you've been ignoring for years and years, this is real. This is something that you need to look at and get that energy flowing in your life, so that you can, unrequited love, you can kind of come to resolve that love, or that unrequited love, and you can find a new wisdom place of it, and then you can start to make new choices. And all of a sudden, after doing that inner work, your life looks differently. You're stepping into something different. Reminds me of Under the Tuscan Sun. This woman who is brokenhearted and she's broken up with her fiance, and she's looking for a beautiful place to live and to create her family. And she ends up on a tour in Italy and then buys a house in Italy that needs a ton of work. And she said, "This is not my," she said to this person, man who was in their family who's helping her build the house, "This is not my dream. This is not what I want." And he said, "Just wait and watch." And so she waited and watched, and she realized she was creating her dream. It was coming to her in a totally different package, in a totally different energetic vibration than she ever experienced in her life before. So she needed to experience that energetics within her life so she could begin to create what she really wanted. So this is the another part of ascension, is when we realize what we want, and the package that we wanted in aren't serving us anymore. And that comes from prayer, it comes from meditation, it comes from inner work, trying things out, and going down to the root emotions and say, can I let this emotion go so that I can really create? Or can I, well, let me put it this way, you're not, the emotion's giving you the message. Once the emotion gives you the message and you get it, the emotion goes away. It changes its energy into something else. So as we listen to ourselves, we actually shift into a whole new vibration. We shift into a whole new paradigm. Even if it's just a small piece, it definitely is a different paradigm. And that's the pathway to ascension. Um, so doing that inner work is so, so important. So um, I work a lot in the Akashic records. You know this, you've heard me say this a lot of times, and I really love working with Source, which is unconditional love of the Creator. And it's the energy that all things are created from. And I am excited about doing that work. So when I talk about ascension, I'm also talking about the source energy within that Akashic field, within those Akashic records. And the Akashic energy of the Creator is is with us throughout our lives. So sometimes being quiet, going into that meditative state where we step into the alpha waves, away from those busy beta waves into the alpha waves, and then go deeper into the theta waves, we are inviting Source, the Akashic energy of Source, and our guides to really work with us and shift our thinking, shift the chemistry in our brain, which now we're, remember I talked about those extra strands of DNA. We were supposed to have a lot of them, but we only have two. When we meditate, when we blend in with the Creator, with Source, we are now working with more strands than we do when we're in our like, oh, okay, here's where I am kind of feeling. And this is through Akashic Source. This is through the Creator that works, and I like to work with the Library of Creation. I like to, and work with the Lords of the Records, work with the dynamic energy that is in that Akashic realm. They can give us great access. The intelligence of the Akashic realm has access to so many things and can take us to so many different places in our minds and our thoughts. And it will take us back to our roots and to our unconscious self, and it will point out, did you realize you had a gift here? Did you realize that this is a talent here, not something to be ashamed of? Did you realize you're sitting on your best gifts? And if you forgive this person, you can free up that gift. For instance, that's I call that the shadow work. I would say, what is that shadow work? I think I need to do some shadow work. Like, it's just going back to your roots, to your unconscious self, to free up that energy. So remember, it rises up, goes into your heart, and then connects to your soul. That's the energy of ascension. That integration is the energy of ascension. And we have so many helpers. We have angels, guides, teachers, masters, and even our loved ones who have passed on to the other side will help us integrate the information that we receive from ourselves, and help us to integrate even the messages that we get from the records, that higher vibrational energy that's calling forward our lower vibrational self. We get lots of help everywhere. And so to not be on a path of ascension path, to not be on that takes a lot of focus, more focus than it does to be on a path of growth and learning. So your soul is made of the Creator's essence, and your soul has created your spirit and has implemented it into this physical body. So you are made from the Creator's essence. There's no getting around it. You can decide that you're not. You can think about that from till the cows come home, but it's not true. Your unconscious ego self is a dynamic recording of your current life since you were born. It's your own personal records is in that unconscious ego self. So it doesn't make sense to cut the ego off. What it makes sense is to observe, understand, and work with that part of yourself that maybe you're a little embarrassed about. In your unconscious self, you will find all the influences, all the reactions and beliefs that your unconscious self built to help you navigate your life. But sometimes they were built when you were 5 years old or 3 years old, and maybe you've learned a few navigation abilities and tricks and some wisdoms, but we need to grow that part of yourself up. The personal records within you are not neutral. They have a mission to keep you alive at all costs. Your ego is the mission to keep you alive at all costs. The Akashic records exist at a higher vibration, and they're neutral observations of all creation, but they had a higher vibration, so they will invite your belief systems, those 3-year, 4 and 5-year-old parts, to grow up, to vibrate up to a higher vibration. Every single thing within ourselves, every pain, every frustration, every dynamic that we have has a lower vibration essence. It has a higher vibration essence. So when we bring even our worst nightmares into sacred space, into our soul will entrain that vibration to a higher vibration, and we'll discover a gift. We'll discover something really amazing within ourselves from our worst nightmare. That is ascension. Your conscious self is your heart, and navigates and bridges your unconscious self and your soul. You need to be aware. You need to not be asleep at the wheel. And if you need to be asleep at the wheel, you need to say, okay, I'm asleep at the wheel, and don't make any big decisions, because I'm kind of like checking out. So you need to know when you're checking out as well. Without this bridge, your unconscious self will not have soul directions. If without this bridge and your unconscious self just runs your life, it's going to run it right into the ground, or it's going to go over a bridge, because it doesn't have soul direction. That's why the aware self comes on, and it brings that soul direction online. Your conscious self needs both soul and roots for a fulfilled and joy-filled life. You need both. If your unconscious self is telling you some stuff and you don't like it, or it's leading you down the wrong path, bring it up to your aware self, and then bring it to your soul in sacred space and say, this is what we got going on. And you'll be amazed where that vibration, once it raises, the information and the wisdom it will give you. And I just want to tell you, I work with people all the time on this ascension pathway, on this process of integration. And look me up at angelscapes.net and reach out to me for a free discovery session. And I can talk to you about how this ascension work can work in your life and bring you joy and ecstasy, ecstatic living. Imagine you are not alone. You are loved and deeply and completely. Make the most of your life by using spiritual tools. Free yourself from fear by using spiritual tools, and embrace the miracle you are living right now, just as you are, because you're perfect just the way you are. And always let love be your guide. And because that's the pathway to ascension. And so that's all I have for you in this session, in this time. I think I gave you an earful, and I hope that this helps you to organize how you think about enlightenment and how you think about ascension, and have a wonderful life. And I'm here, and your guides are here, your angels are here to help you whenever you need.
Thank you for joining the Angelscapes podcast. We hope you've gained new insights and inspiration for your journey to uncover and access your soul's power. For more information and a deeper dive into finding clarity in your life, go to angelscapes.com. Remember to subscribe so you can be part of the discussion. It may just change your life. See you next time.